So,
It's been a couple months since we played last?
I think it's a little bit more than that.
Yeah, it's been...
3 days since you looked at me.
What was the last thing you remember?
Man, you're really coming at me with bear claws out here.
Well, after you destroyed Hansome and kind of ruined the Long-Eared King's life,
Hell yeah.
you and Rib split up. Rib went with Bendel to become a Beastmaster and also try not to die for his health reasons.
Yeah.
And that's something I wanted to bring up. Since you left and you went through the portal, as soon as that happened, that little switch, that little thing in your brain that made you remember and be able to communicate with Rib just kind of didn't shut off, but it was like kind of dead silence, dead air.
Yeah, it's like muted.
That's a good way to put it. Last thing that happened too was Ari. I'm not sure if you remember her. She was the little halfling girl, wizard girl, who actually was able to turn you guys human after you turned into a frog.
Yeah.
All those months ago. And she was the only one there, along with Magwell Sire, to bring you back up to speed into the castle. She showed you to your new room, and you met up with... Well, you didn't really talk to her. I think you were too melancholy at the time, talking to Delilah, who gave Ari a big box for Rib, and then Ari gave it to you, and it's somewhere in your room. And then you found the cupcake. You remember the cupcake?
Yes, I do actually remember the cupcake.
With the rune on it.
Yeah.
And then that's when the camera cut. But your job, or what you're supposed to do, now that you're back at this castle, is talk to Aldenreich about your mission to get Alphonse back, which, from the looks of it, is a total failure. I know that's probably not what Howland even gave a shit about.
I was gonna say...
Has Howland even thought about it that way?
No, because in the mind of Howland, it's like the mission that they gave him was always bullshit. It was always a side thing. It was like when your teacher tells you to do your homework and you blow it off for the 9th time. And you come back into class and she's like, well, you didn't do your homework. And it's just like, I know. I'd never planned on it. With that being said, correct me if I'm wrong, but last time, didn't I basically make a deal with the Long-Eared King that I would tell everybody in the castle that he was dead? Didn't I,
Something along those lines, yeah. You were going to make sure that they weren't going to come after Alphonse.
Yes.
So you can lie about it. But also something, and you don't have to tell me what your plan is, but something I've been worried about is like how you're going to explain to Rib, to Ari, Delilah, Aldenreich for sure, Magwell, everyone else in the castle that you've met, Aloe being one of those as well. Delilah being the main proponent, but because I know I don't expect you to remember literally a year of Handsome Dwellers, but Delilah gave you guys tickets to get some magic stuff from the shelf so you guys could protect yourself because, I'm not trying to hide. I'm going to be as transparent as I can. Delilah liked Rib a lot.
Yeah.
So you guys going off by yourself and then not coming back with Rib, the person she likes a lot, might be a little bit hard.
All right.
But that being said, that's only if you run into these people. This is your one-on-one. This is your soul. This is your moment of truth to kind of do stuff. There is going to be one portion of it that I'm going to take the reins a little bit, but this is going to be a day in the life of Howland. So before we start, have any questions, comments?
No, I think we're all right.
So with that being said... The camera opens up slowly, fading into a shot of a castle glinting in the distance. And then the camera cuts to inside, a little bit closer. And then the camera cuts again in a dark, lit up hallway with torches around. People pass by the room as they go. There's a sign next to the door, but it doesn't seem like anyone's name is on there yet. and then we cut inside of the room. What is Howland doing?
Should I refer to Howland as Howland or me while we're doing this? What would be better?
Either way, it doesn't really matter to me.
Then I'm just going to say I'm, or like me, when I'm doing it, because it's just easier. So I would say that I'm sitting in my bed. I've got my armor off. You know, I'm basically in, for me, what count as pajamas.
What are his pajamas? Is it still the robe? Or
Well, no, it's like the robe, and I would imagine that at this point, because of the way the armor is, the way it's got like thorns and jagged spikes coming out of it, that the robe is almost like fused to the armor in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like getting the robe and the armor apart would be really difficult. So I imagine he's got the robe and the armor just kind of neatly folded, sitting on a box or a dresser or something in the room. And Howland is basically sitting in his bed, one hand under the pillow, and I've got another hand on top of the pillow, and I'm just kind of holding this wand, looking at it, and then I stop.
I was going to say, what is he thinking?
When I look at the wand, I'm just thinking of everything that I went through, of everything that happened to bring this wand into my hands right now. And everything that still might happen while I've got this wand. I don't know.
Roll a perception for me.
Yeet.
An 8. It's
8 is pretty great. That's what I say.
I'll say on an 8, your mind is clouded with a lot of. I'm not sure if it's anxiety or anything. Maybe it's frustration. Maybe it's just numbness at this point.
Mm.
You're not as fresh as you would be. You haven't seen Eldric yet, and I know I'm still on this, but like, if Howland's not in his robes, what is he in?
I would imagine it's like a black shirt with sleeves that aren't rolled up, so they're a little bit longer than Howland's hands. What are those long... It's basically like long underwear. The hair is just kind of like fucked. Real doomer vibes right now sitting in my room.
Now, I don't know if you've left your room yet in the castle. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But if you were planning to, did you want to go anywhere?
I think I'm gonna go take a shower, in all honesty.
Okay. You don't know where the shower is. Wait, you can roll. You can roll for that. Survival.
Survival. I have to survive. I need this fucking shower.
I don't know, man. It's been a couple days and you kind of do. Ooh.
Yeah.
I think you can find it. Not like you don't
know but it's like I've got enough pieced together to where I'm like, okay, I think I know where this is.
It would have been funnier if you didn't tell me, but do you put your stuff back on or are you just walking out in your jammies?
You know what? I think Howland is just going to float to the shower with his robes and armor just kind of like floating behind him. The position is kind of like just hunched over like fucking dead. Like when you get up in the morning and you need coffee.
Real quick, I'm going to send you a picture just so you can be a little bit more understanding of where you are. But you walk out of float out of your room. You're just floating around, hunched over, going down the hallways. You're just passing by. If you see anyone, do you take notice? Do you care? What's going on?
Not gonna lie to you, I'm still waiting on that picture. And I'm eating a piece of pizza.
Well, it's still loading. I'm watching it still loading. And I'm watching it with you still loading.
And do you think one day I'll ever get to see this picture?
Maybe if I screenshot the picture and then I send you the screenshot.
It's just Frog Howland sitting in the rain, like the cover of My Neighbor Totoro.
That's another thing. People love Frog Howland, apparently.
Shut up. Just shut up. I don't want to hear it.
Because every time you're Frog Howland, you're like, I take my hand and I put it on their mouth.
Yeah. It's to assert frog dominance. Okay, well... It's coming in the triple monitor, so I see the files with Anton Chigurh murdering somebody behind them. And it's so good, because the way that it looks in the picture that you sent me, it looks like he's jerking off hardcore, because all you can see is his face and the position that he's in. And then below it just says, now call it. And it's so bad. Why? Why did it come out like this? I don't understand.
I sent it. Oh, I sent it through Messenger
Fuck.
too. Just use.
I know. I got them both at the same fucking time, and I'm pissed. So stupid. God damn it.
All right. So do you understand where you are?
I'm in a fucking pink desert castle. Fuck. Dude, we need to metagame real quick. Nobody ever has to know about it. Like, I don't expect anybody to ever find this. But I need you to make a stone statue of Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men, buried in the desert somewhere, like Ozymandias. Like, they're just going through the desert, and it's... You never say it. You never say his name, but if anybody finds it, you describe it as accurately as you possibly can to Anton Chigurh. That's all I want from you. Anywho.
You're going through the hallway, just floating. Are you stopping if anyone sees you?
No, I'm dead right now.
You actually make it to the showers fairly safe. What you notice is that they're not single, like, stalls. It seems to be like the showers from gym class would be, like, from the 1990s Stephen King's It. There's a bunch of, like, holes in the top, and there's water coming forward like a waterfall.
Yes. And these are, like, what, public showers right now?
Yeah. There doesn't seem to be anyone there, and you're up fairly early.
I don't want anybody to see Howland's tight ass, so I think what I want to do... Can I use some magic in here, dude?
You can do whatever you want.
Alright. Can I use one of my spells to create, like, a wall of poison in front of the door so nobody comes in here while I'm showering? Can I do that?
Yeah, fuck it.
Hell yeah, dude. Okay.
It's a cantrip. I won't make you roll for it. You just shower with poison at the door.
I'm sitting in the shower. I'm just kind of, like, sitting down. My hair is just, like, wet as fuck in front of my face. And I just imagine I'm literally floating in the shower, meditating, while the soap and stuff basically washes me, and while, like, the shampoo and shit just kind of, like... It's like I'm using telepathy almost and magic to just do all of this while I'm meditating in the shower with a wall of poison in front of the door.
Roll perception for me.
Oh my god. Dude, nobody better walk in here. After I've done so much to secure my privacy.
Roll perception.
Boop.
Boop? Okay, that's nat 20. You hear door open and then...
Yeah, what the fuck? What is that noise? What does that mean?
If you look over, you see in the doorway someone had walked into the bathroom with a towel around their neck, and then they walked through the spray and then just immediately backwards onto the floor.
I just look at that. I just kind of shrug, because I'm done showering anyway. So I get dressed in my full attire, and I literally just float on by.
As you float past him, you realize that was... And oh my god, audience, this has been almost 2-3 years since the last time he's seen or heard of this character. This was Blake. Blake was the character that Delilah said was one of the top agents in Xander. She said that you guys weren't good enough. The leader of one of the squadrons. One of the squads.
I'm going back.
Okay.
And is he just, like, what, passed out right now?
Yeah, he's just passed out on the ground.
I look at Blake, and I kind of, like, levitate down to him, and I smack him across the face, and I'm like, dummy, I ain't even gonna let you get the chance, dummy, idiot. And I smack him across the face, and then I float away again.
He's still passed out.
Dummy.
Alright, do you have your clothes on now?
Yeah, I wish I had a marker. God damn, dude. But yeah.
You can use your wand as a marker if you want.
Alright, I go back again.
Alright.
I'm just gonna... Oh my god, I'm gonna scribble on his forehead, I'm stupid. And then I'm gonna turn him around, and just on the back of his neck, I'm gonna fucking write in, kick me. And now I'm gonna leave. And I'm gonna smack him one more time. Just dummy. Fucking idiot. Now I go. Fucking Blake, dude. Yeah, it shows how fucking good Blake is out here getting marked on.
Are you going to Aldenreich's office, or what are you doing?
Yeah, we're gonna go see Alden Sprike.
Let's just cut to you. You show up at the door. Hair still frizzy.
Yes. I fucking knock on his door like that.
You hear, "Come in." Howland. Howland, I know it's you.
I open the door. I open the door.
You open the door and immediately you already see his face in his hands.
Yeah.
Hello, Howland. It's nice to see you again.
Yes. Good evening, likewise. Bonjour. Howdy.
Would you like to take a seat, or are you going to float there?
No, I'm gonna take a seat. Like, I'm sitting, but I'm not sitting on anything. It looks like I'm sitting on a chair that isn't there while I'm floating.
He sees you do that, and he just starts massaging his temple.
This fucking guy. Okay. But yes, I trust you have questions?
Several, actually. I spoken to Ari,
Yeah.
and she was quite troubled that Rib did not come back.
Yes.
I'd like to know about that first of all, I suppose.
As I'm sure you can gather at this point, the mission we were sent on wasn't exactly what you would call a success.
He chuckles.
This motherfucker. Unfortunately, Rib was not able to make it back with me. I'm not quite sure what happened to him. If I had to guess, I believe Rib may still be alive, but ultimately, his fate is currently unknown, even to me.
What brought you to a port?
What did he? What did he just say?
What brought you to a port?
A port.
A part.
Oh, a part. I was like, what port are you talking about, dude? There was no boat in that fucking... Didn't even get to drive a boat once. But anyway, basically the story goes like this. We got to Hansome, we started looking around, and we found out that the town was being harassed by monsters. The townspeople were so scared, we didn't really get much out of them. Ultimately, we were able to track down these monsters, and they led us to an underground city beneath Hansome, where we actually found Alphonse.
Was he alive?
Yes, Alphonse was alive.
At that, he kind of like sits up and he says, "Go on."
I was gonna. The problem is that Alphonse locked himself in a loop. Basically what happened, somehow Alphonse got connected to some kind of ethereal god-type being. Something called the Interceptor. Alphonse took some of the Interceptor's power, and he apparently was using that power to keep himself alive, as he told me and Rib that he'd sustained grievous injuries before he found the Interceptor, and I believe he was using the Interceptor's power to sustain himself as well as the city that we found underground. I mean, you weren't there, but if you would have been, you would have known that the city was of a certain magical persuasion. A bit how you feel walking into this castle. If you're a magic user, you can kind of sense it, for lack of a better word.
Naturally. It's probably the reason that you got the gate seed up so quickly.
Yes.
Out of game real quick.
Yeah.
You were explaining this earlier, but when gate seeds are planted, if there's not a lot of magic around, it could take a month or two to get it fully open.
So the more magic, the quicker it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, anyway. But the problem is that this being did not like being beaten by Alphonse. So Alphonse asked me and Rib to go try to kill the Interceptor. Well, we found the Interceptor, and it very nearly killed both of us. We were basically at this thing's mercy. It was almost like a god. It was something made out of light, and it could basically do whatever it wanted. If it wanted you dead, it could have just snapped its fingers and you would be dead. But the Interceptor told me and Rib that if we were able to get Alphonse to relinquish the bit of its power that he was holding on to, that it would let everybody go. That we could come back with Alphonse. The city would be gone, of course, but everyone would be set free. Because Alphonse almost locked himself in a limbo. He had himself and a great many other people in this city beneath Hansome, but the problem is that nobody could leave without the Interceptor's say-so. But the Interceptor couldn't leave because Alphonse still had a portion of its power. We eventually got Alphonse to give up his portion of the Interceptor's power back to it, but the problem is that we were tricked. We got backstabbed by the Interceptor, and as soon as Alphonse gave it its power back, it came to the city, and there was a massive explosion. Basically a flash of light. I got thrown against a wall, and I got knocked out. But when I was flying, when the flash of light happened, I saw Alphonse and most of the other people that were in the city at the time get consumed by this massive light explosion. I don't know what happened to Rib. I don't know what happened to everybody. There had to be some that made it out. But as of right now, I'm not sure if Rib is alive or dead. And the Interceptor is still out there somewhere.
As you were explaining what happened, he was leaning towards you at first, and then he slowly leaned backwards with his facial expressions dropping. Are you hurt? Are you okay?
I was hurt. I was grievously harmed. But I was able to come back up to the town and find a tavern where I was nursed back to health over the course of about a day or two. The tavern keeper was kind enough to give me some kind of magical healing potion. But I've still probably got some kind of scar on the back of my head where I hit the rocks. Please don't call me on that.
Roll a deception.
Bah.
Oh, baby.
That's the worst deception that there ever was.
A nat one. A nat one is still a nat one. But since it's deception, only the things that you... Holy shit, that's a nat one. You do have a point of inspiration.
Yeah, I want to use that. For the love of God, I need him to believe me.
Okay, that's much better than a nat 1, I'll tell you that, an 11. So it's just on the stuff you were clearly lying about. So you told a majority of it was the truth, but a lot of it wasn't. Random stuff like you don't know where Rib went. But on an 11, and I'll give you this, I don't think he knows you enough to know that you're straight up lying, but there's something definitely fishy going on. And when you explained all that, especially when you said like you could check the back of your head for maybe a scar or something like that, he didn't even blink. He just is staring at you. He stares at you for a good, I want to say 10 seconds before he averts his gaze down to his desk and he pulls out a drawer and he picks up 2 pink tickets and he puts it on the table and he slides it towards you. It was going to be 1 each, 1 for you and 1 for Rib, but I feel since he somehow disappeared, you should just take the second ticket, I suppose. And he stands up and he says, while you're fixing yourself up, I should send a team through the portal to wherever you planted the gate seed, and we could determine what truly happened.
Yes, that would probably be for the best.
Out of game, the portal was destroyed when New Hansome was destroyed because you planted it in Hansome.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell him that or no?
Yeah, I'm going to tell him that.
He's about to walk out the door.
I'm going to just, slowly float down to the ground, and I'm just going to be like, it might be a bit difficult to send a team through that portal. I must warn you.
He stops, and he turns around, and cocks an eyebrow, and he says, And why exactly would that be?
Because we planted the portal in the city, and as I just said, the city is quite literally not there anymore, and by extension, that portal. If you're going to send a team back to Hansome, you're going to have to find some other way to get them there.
His eyes glaze over, and he stares off into space above your head. And you can tell, I won't make you roll anything, but you can tell he's definitely more than irritated. Also, I want to point out, because if I don't, people are going to yell at me. In episode 9, people showed up through the portal with no faces from Xander, supposedly, because that's where the portal came from. And you killed all of them, but they weren't real people, if that makes any sense. You took off the masks and they had no faces. They looked more like golems than anything.
I'm gonna hold that, but I'm gonna ask about that at some point. Like, I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, we were attacked by faceless people, but I'm gonna be like, so, hey.
You're gonna say that right now?
No, right now I want to let him just go off. I'll talk to him later about that when he's not quite so pissed off.
With his eyes glazed over still, he closes the door behind him, and he's staring down at you, and he says, I'm not one to be so angry. I just don't understand how we sent you to do one job. No, for your credit, we sent you to do a number of jobs, say, find Halfon's, plant a portal seed, a gate seed, I should say, and, to also, I guess this just goes without saying, but to bring back your fucking partner. And you didn't do that. And if really any of those, the gate seed's gone, Alphonse is gone, Rib is gone. And the funny thing is, the last thing that you said to me was that we chose you because you were the best thing in the castle. Of course, it was all jovial fun at the time, but I really thought that you two could have done something. The confidence you two just ensue all the time, it's maddening quite. I don't understand how someone can just walk around with those big balls and just fail as much as you just did.
Hey, Dylan.
Yeah.
What would I have to roll to use Mage Hand right now?
Depends on what you want to do. It's a cantrip.
I want to grab him by the neck and put him up against the wall. I don't want to hurt him, and I don't want to kill him, but I do want to grab him. Because in-game, Howland is... This is one of the most angry Howland has ever been. Because right now, Howland is... he's depressed. He is depressed that Rib is gone. And he's still kind of kicking himself for how things went in Hansome Dwellers. And that is the absolute last thing that he wanted to hear right now. So he is... Oh, he's pissed.
I believe it. It's going to be a strength one.
Okay.
I'll give you advantage on this because it's a surprise attack. I'm going to continue talking, but just roll it whenever you feel that he would actually do that, okay? I want to say the camera is on Howland's face as he's just like that little moment where he said like fail. He doesn't even move an inch, his face, but he's pissed. And then he continues and says, and the last thing that happened that Rib wanted was to get rid of your animals that you stole from the army. I don't even feel like I should...
I fucking grab him with Mage Hand by the throat. And my Mage Hand, it's like my top fingers, my thumb and pointer finger are around his throat, and then my 3 other ones are wrapped around his body. And I put him up against the wall. And the door, I'm just levitating with this dude up against the wall. And the door, I just look at it and it slams. And I get real close to him and I say, listen, if you think that I'm fine. You sit here and you call me a failure. You think that I came back here without my partner. You think I don't know that? Because I gotta tell you, I do. I do know that. But you know what else I know? I am the strongest fucking thing in this castle. And if you could have seen what I saw in Hansome, you wouldn't be here. You would be dead. And I'll tell you something. If you fucking ever question me again, or talk to me in such a tone, as God is my witness, I will do things to you that would leave everyone in this castle speechless. Because if you think that death is the worst thing that I can put you through, I promise you, death is only the beginning. I'm going to open the door. It just opens. I drop him. I just set him down. And I float out of the room. Slam that fucking door so hard.
You're walking down the hallway after you exit the office, and the camera's on you, with the door in the background as you walk past the camera, and you slam the door, and this door just comes off of the hinges and crumbles to the ground. And we just see the face of Eldric on the ground shaking with a stone-faced expression, trying to calm himself, but in the most quiet way possible.
That motherfucker. I will come back for Eldric at some point, I promise it.
You need to get a list like that girl from Game of Thrones.
Oh, I've got it. Oh, where is, like, a quiet, secluded place in this castle? Like, somewhere that you could meditate?
There's a library.
I know what I'm gonna do. Can I get to the top tower and just sit there and kind of look onward at the desert?
Yes, you can. The camera cuts, and we see just a wide shot of one of the top castle towers, where we see Howland looking over the desert. Is there anything that you want to do here in particular? Because if not, I think this might be a great spot to slip something in.
I'm just going to float and meditate looking onwards at the desert that seems endless.
Perfect. The camera is on Howland as he's staring out in the desert. I think Howland eyeglasses over and he thinks about places he's been, because he's not alright. And the only time that I think he's been alright since Knight's Congregation was the Knight's Congregation. And I think he goes back before that in his mind. I think it goes farther and farther and farther back to a moment in his life where everything just seemed hopeless, but understandably so. The camera shades over, and then we see a shot of this, like, not a huge house, but it's a pretty moderately sized house with beat up looking windows and cracked wood all over it. And the gate there is disheveled, but it's still a gate, and above it reads orphanage. I can't remember if you had a name for it.
I'm sure I did, but I would probably have to go back to, I would have to go back to Soulwood.
I don't think you ever said it in canon. I don't think you ever said it. Did you want to name it right now, and we'll just... whatever?
We could name it... Why do I want to say Sunnyvale? Gotta find a good name. Something that's in direct contrast with who Howland is. Be Bright Star's orphanage. The town of Bright Star.
The town of Bright Star, okay.
Yes.
A small village called Bright Star.
Yeah.
Do you have a name for the owner of the orphanage?
Let's call her Mrs. Knox. Not even Mrs., we're just gonna do Miss. Because she never got married, because she's bitter. Miss Knox.
Okay. Miss Knox of Bright Star at the Bright Star orphanage. How did Howland feel there?
Really bad and really hopeless.
How was he treated?
Pretty awful. In Bright Star, it was a happy town on the surface, but if you looked a little bit deeper into it, the town had a very long history of disliking magic. In Bright Star, they absolutely hate magic users. They hate anybody who can use magic. They shun literally any and all kinds of magic. If you were a miner, or maybe a woodsman, the town isn't bad. But if you were born knowing any kind of magic or sorcery, or having even the vaguest curiosity about it, it was an awful place. And that was reflected very clearly in the orphanage that Howland grew up in. Anytime that Howland was caught trying to use magic, anytime that he was caught trying to do any kind of magic, he would get violently whipped and beaten. Even now, if you look at Howland without his shirt on, if you look at his back, he's still got a bunch of scars from being whipped. Because Howland was shunned by all of the kids and all of the people in this town, he learned to be okay by himself. When he wanted to practice magic, he would go back behind the orphanage, and he would go into the forest, and there was a big, really big weeping willow tree in the middle of the forest. You had to walk about 10 minutes to get to it. But the tree was so big that you could probably lay down on one of the branches like it was a bed. And Howland would sit under this tree, and he would just practice with magic. And one of the first things he ever did is he summoned some kind of magical creature. It was one of the first things he ever did. He didn't really know how he did it. It just felt natural. It just kind of came to him. He summoned a rat, but it wasn't a normal rat. It was clearly a magical rat. It had runes etched into it. It had, like, glowing purple eyes. And the rat kind of came up to him and sniffed his hand, and he picked it up. And for a little bit, while he was holding this pet rat, Howland knew what it felt like to actually be happy. And for a little bit, that was okay. But he couldn't really sustain it, you know? He couldn't really keep the rat alive, because it was just it was a magical familiar. A really weak magical familiar at that. He wanted to keep the rat, you know, and he wanted to name it, but the rat just started to turn to ash in his hands, and it just blew away in the wind. And suddenly, it was pretty not alright. But Howland learned a very valuable lesson. Howland learned that at times he could be happy. He figured out that that was possible. And he went back to the orphanage, and he was a little bit calmer this time around. He wasn't sad that people weren't talking to him. He didn't care that everybody looked down on him for being a magic user, because he knew that magic was really a gateway to anything he wanted. He just knew that he had to practice with it, and he knew that it was natural, and that it was almost like what he was meant for. It just felt right.
Let's open this here at the tree. The camera opens up on Howland, little tiny kid Howland, so like 6 or 7. He's chilling around this tree, kind of like the Giving Tree, like the opening of that book. What is he doing?
He's gotten better at it, so he's playing with a bunch of magical summoned creatures. He's got a couple rats that he's playing with, but then he's got like a little tiny golem walking around made out of like dirt and rocks that he made. And he's just playing with all these little magical created creatures.
Roll perception for me. Okay. While he's playing with all these familiars, these things that he's conjured up, he notices in the shadows, farther out into the forest, kind of a figure standing in the shadows, staring at him. I don't know how that makes you feel.
Howland looks at that, and he gets really uneasy. He gets kind of scared, and he just doesn't want to be on the ground, because he doesn't feel safe. So he starts concentrating really, really hard. Like with everything he has in him, he starts to float, and he levitates himself about 8 feet, 10 feet into the air, up on top of this branch. You know, he's sitting on the branch, but he's literally exhausted. Like, he's dead from doing that. He's absolutely just done, magic-wise.
As soon as you do that, you look back and the figure is gone.
Howland looks down, and he snaps his fingers, points at the little tiny rock golem, and then points to where the figure was, and he makes the rock golem go over there to check it out while he hides on the tree branch, peeking behind the tree.
You see the rock golem head off, and it doesn't return. I think you sit there for a bit waiting for the rock golem to come back, and it just never does. And while you're waiting there, you finally just hear Howland.
Is that Mrs. Knox? Miss Knox? By the way, she's awful. Just gonna throw that out there.
Oh, I know.
So it's like Miss Umbridge and then Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest mixed into one fucking character, and that would be Miss Knox. Ugh. But Howland hears that he doesn't want to go back, but he definitely doesn't want to take his chances with young Shadow Boy in the woods, so he picks up his 3 little, like, summoned rats that he's got. He has the rats and he's holding all of them, and he's just running as fast as he can back to the orphanage.
You're running, you go towards the orphanage, and you finally make it, and you see Mrs. Knox standing there, a hand on her hip, one hand behind her back, staring at you, and she actually says, "Oh, there you are, Howland. Run off again?"
I don't want to say anything. I just kind of look down.
You know what that means. And you know what that means.
Yeah. He just inhales greatly, and he's just like,
"Come here, Howland." And she points down to the ground right by her feet.
He goes over there, feebly. You can tell he just doesn't want to be there. He reluctantly walks over.
And then from behind, she pulls out a switch.
God.
And she swats your ass.
Ah, bitch. Howland still doesn't say anything, and he's just, like, kind of gritting his teeth a little bit.
With the switch, she just kind of puts it on your shoulder, and she says, "Now go back to your room, okay? Make your bed. Make sure that everything's all nice and tidy, okay? You don't want me to do this again. I don't like doing this." And she swats you again.
He reluctantly says, "Yes, ma'am," and he runs up to his room.
As you're running up to the room, other little kids sitting there running around, they see you and they walk right past you. You actually get hit in the head with an egg. You don't know what kid did it, but you get hit with the egg as you're going up the stairs, and everybody starts laughing.
He just clenches his hands together. Like, I'm just clenching my hands really hard, making fists, because at this point the rats they've gone away. Just turned into dust, but I put my hand up to the top of my head, and I feel it, and I look, and I see the egg on my hands, and making fists as hard as I can, I run to the bathroom, rinse off my hair.
While you're in there, you actually hear some of the kids still laughing, and one girl says, "Oh, who came first, chicken or the egg?" Another boy says, "Oh, I think it was Howland." And someone else goes, "Oh, he is a chicken." And they all laugh again.
Howland just looks into the mirror in the bathroom, and I imagine that he's just washing off the egg from his hair, and he's gritting his teeth, and he looks into the mirror and just sees that his eyes are glowing purple, and the light starts to flicker. I'm imagining he just sits there for a minute, and he makes a fist, and he punches the mirror, and he cracks it. But the thing is, when he punches it, it's like the entire room shakes with some kind of purple energy, and the light literally explodes in the room. And Howland does not know what the fuck just happened. He doesn't know what's going on. And he just slowly backs out of the room, kind of freaked out.
When that happens, everyone in the house stops talking, and then they start freaking out a little bit. And I imagine Howland ducking out of the bathroom after people start panicking, and you run to your room. But when you run to your room, it's not like your individual room. It's you're sharing it with a whole bunch of people. There's got to be 16 beds in here, and yours is on the bottom bunk, of course, all the way towards the window, farthest away from everybody. I'm not sure if you notice if anyone else is in here, but I think you're just running to your bunk. I think it's near dusk when you finally get to your bed when the sun is going down. Do you stare out the window often?
Yeah.
While you're staring out the window, again, sun's going down, so you're not seeing a lot of details outside, but you see, the small little houses and built buildings that are kind of disheveled around the neighborhood. But you see a figure walking down, holding a cane down the road. And I don't know why, but I feel like that specific figure catches your eye. Maybe because you've watched a lot of people, you've known this place for a while, and that person just seems different. But as you're staring at this person, they're walking down the street, and then at the same time, they stare directly right back at you in a kind of an impossible sense. Like, how would they even know that you were staring?
Yeah.
And as soon as that happens, someone jumps down on you.
Ugh.
And it's another little kid. His name's Toby. And he's kind of like the ringleader of these boys in this room. And he says, "Get him!"
Get him! They're not even kids. They're the weird monsters from Munch's Odyssey. They're just, get him! No! No!
They jump down on you, and one of them, Toby, is standing on top with both his legs, and the other two kids are grabbing you by the ankles, and another two kids grab you by the wrists. They're trying to pick you up as Toby lifts you up by your hair and is holding you. They're just trying to pull you backwards. The camera is upside down, looking at your face, so it looks right side up as you're staring past them to see what they're dragging you to. And what they're dragging you to, it seems to be a trash can. Is there anything you want to do?
Yeah. While they're dragging me, I imagine that Howland is just screaming for them to stop. Not crying, but just screaming stop over and over and over again.
As you're heading towards the trash can, they're slowly about to dunk you in there when there's a knock on the door from downstairs. You actually hear Miss Knox, and she goes, "1 second, darling," and she runs up the stairs, and she walks into the room, and she sees that they're all holding you, trying to grab you towards the trash can, and you are hovering maybe an inch above the trash, and she says, "I don't care what is happening in this room right now, but we have a guest, and if that guest sees what you two are doing, then I'm gonna have to switch all of you. Now, for right now, you are all gonna be friends, okay?" And Toby says, "I don't want to be friends with Fowland."
That's the best you got?
Toby smacks you in the face.
Oh, God, fuck this kid.
As he smacks you in the face, the other kids drop you, and your head lands in the trash can, and the trash falls down, lands all over you. Miss Nux actually comes in and swats the boys away, and then starts swatching you. "Howland, pick this up before our guest arrives, okay?"
God.
And then she walks out of the room. She turns right back and she says, "Now, you do this, okay? You follow the rules, and you can be a big boy and a good boy, and maybe we don't have to use this all the time, and maybe these people will actually be friends with you."
Yeah. Yeah, right.
She walks out, walks down the stairs, and I imagine as you're picking up the trash, the door opens, and you hear Miss Nux just say downstairs, "Oh, hello. What brings you here today?" The individual downstairs, you just hear him, it's kind of in a weird voice as he says, "I hope it's no trouble. I'm just a passerby. I need to stay somewhere for the night, and I have no idea where. There's a hotel in this, what is this, Bright Star? Oh, well, yes, I could actually point you in the room of the And she stops right there. "I'd actually like to stay here for the night, if that's all right." And in a weird voice, it's still Mrs. Nux, but it's weird. "Of course, you can stay here as long as you like." "That's great. That's great." There's footsteps, and then silence. No more conversation. And then by this, the sun is completely set.
I like that. So this is Malik in here right now, right? Is that who that is?
I don't know, maybe.
I don't know, dude. It's fucking Miami Mouth.
You heard that, and you heard the footsteps, and then you didn't hear Miss Nux anymore.
Yeah.
But while you're cleaning up the trash, the door suddenly closes, and I'm not sure if you noticed that.
I want to say it's quiet enough to the point where I don't.
Yeah, the door closes with all the boys around you, and Toby and the boys corner you again and put you down on the ground, and someone covers your mouth, and Toby is sitting there with a little marker in his hand, and he says, "Now be quiet so we can be friends," and he smiles as he starts writing on your forehead, and it says, "I'm stupid."
Yeah, motherfucker.
And then as soon as he finishes, they all burst into tears laughing, and they run away to their beds, leaving you on the floor.
I go back to the bathroom. And I just look at the mirror that is now cracked. And I'm imagining that because the light doesn't work, Howland is literally just conjuring a... He's basically making a lighter out of his finger. He's just got a really, really, really tiny, like, fireball thing coming out of the tip of his finger for light. And he's just doing that with one hand, and he's trying to, like, wash the marker off of his head with his other hand.
You hear a knock on the door. Howland! Howland, I know you're not out of bed right now.
Fuck. Oh, no. What do I do?
You swearing in there?
Shut up. Shut up,
She
dude.
didn't say that.
I'm imagining Howland immediately, like, turns off the sink and runs to his bed as fast as he possibly can.
You run out of the bathroom and you run to your bed as soon as you possibly can. Like, she has her switch up, and then she puts it right back down as soon as you run to your bed, and she says, "You know, because I'm such a nice lady, I'm gonna let you slide on that one. Get to bed." And she walks out of the room. As soon as she walks out of the room, the kids that are still up but slowly dozing off, they say, "Yeah, Howland, get to bed." And there's a chorus of giggles around the room. I'm gonna cut. It's later in the night. And Howland was asleep. And then he starts hearing something on his floor.
Define hearing something.
Like something moving. Like specifically walking.
Yeah.
Like not like someone walking. It doesn't sound like footsteps. You've been here most of your life, so you understand that what people's footsteps sound like. Specifically, you know what Toby's sounds like. You know what Mrs. Nux sounds like.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like anyone's footsteps that you recognize, or footsteps in general. It just feels like something is moving on the floor.
With the covers mostly over my head, I kind of just, like, peek out and I look.
And what you see is your little tiny stone golem sitting there, moving back and forth on the floor.
Ah! I just want you to know that this... Like, it was gonna be fine, you know? I was expecting somebody, but when you said the little golem thing is there, I just... This is all I can think of. This is just... Like, oh... Uh-oh...
Oh, damn. What's his name, dude? I forgot his name. Yeah.
Oh my god, his name is Dougie.
Dougie Jones.
Fucking Dougie, dude.
Dougie Jones in the red room.
Fucking stupid ass Dougie Jones.
What does Howland do?
I'm imagining that Howland looks at that and just immediately puts the covers over his head and, like, does that thing you do when you're trying to hide from monsters.
Alright. The noise stops.
I don't want to look! I'm not. Like, I'm in that bitch. I am in my covers.
The noise continues on the floor again. but it's moving away from your bed.
I look again, despite my better judgment.
It's moving away from your bed. It's going towards the doorway, where it's suddenly opened, which is weird because Miss Nux always has it closed and locked at night. Mr. C just staring at it?
Yeah. By the way, I want to point out that young Howland, his hair is literally down to his feet.
Oh boy, I like that. Like Finn from Adventure Time.
Actually, literally, this is probably the most accurate thing you're gonna get of, like, little Howland.
Who is that?
That is the Moonlight Boy from Berserk.
The Moonlight Boy from Berserk. Alright, perfect. Love it.
Like, that's basically little Howland, in all honesty.
Hair all over the place.
Wild hair.
Is little Howland also wearing, like, a little white nightgown?
No.
Now he is.
Yeah?
No, I'm joking.
In all honesty, I imagine at this point he's literally wearing like some shitty stitched together footy pajamas.
So, you're staring at that stone golem as it's heading out of the room.
God. I mean, you want me to follow this thing, but it's like, do I want to follow this thing? I don't.
It's your friend. It's your stone golem
No, he's supposed
friend,
to be dead. He's supposed to be gone. Oh my god. I'm going to reluctantly follow him, even though I want to state for the record, I do not think this is a good idea. But I'm gonna do it because, hey, the plot, bro. Haha.
Okay. You start following it slowly, like not trying to make sure that you don't creak as you go, and you see it walk out of the room and towards the staircase. And as it gets to the staircase, it just jumps up and slides down the rails to the bottom of the stairs, and then looks back at you and throws up his hand in a slow wave and starts heading towards the left. Not the guest room, but that's where there's a living room and there's a couch on it.
Okay. I kinda skittled down the stairs, but cautiously.
And it's really dark. There's no light out except for the moonlight, and the only moonlight is coming through the window onto a specific part of the living room where the stone golem is. And it looks at you, and then it turns around and starts slowly heading into the shadows in the living room where the couch is.
Just like, dude, no. Dude, no way. My fucking golem down there? No way. But, once again, despite his better judgment, he's gonna go down there.
As you head down towards the couch, picture the camera on the back of the stone golem as he's walking away from you. As soon as he heads into the shadows, or is about to head into the shadows, two hands clasped around the stone golem and bring it into the shadows as a widow-peaked white-haired man with white, almost opaque eye comes out of the darkness. Hello.
He reluctantly says hi. He's like, oh, hi.
The figure that you don't know who it is, but it's obviously not a monster, walks into the moonlight and sits down cross-legged in front of you, Howland. Did you build this? Or should I say, conjure?
Howland is still looking down. I'm still looking at the ground, but he's just, like, yeah. Again, really reluctantly and, like, really shy.
He says, its craftsmanship is unimaginable. It must have been made with magic?
Howland looks around to see if anybody else is listening to that. Darts from left to right, looking all around.
Don't worry about that. And he puts his hand up. Immediately there's like this shadow that falls around the walkway where you would usually go to the stairs. From that, it kind of cuts you off from the rest of the house in these shadows, except for the window that's bathing the room in moonlight.
I'm looking around and I'm just like, what the fuck? Howland is just really like, what's going on right now? What is this?
He puts down the stone golem in front of you, and the stone golem starts walking towards you with its arms open for a hug.
He picks it up. He's kind of holding it close to his chest, like a kid would hold a bear or something. And he's, looking at Malik like,
That's a very, very nice magic golem. Does it have a name?
His name is Rocky.
That's a lovely name. I myself have a great name, at least I think. My name is Malik. And you are Howland.
Is making golems your favorite? Mine too.
See? Now we know each other.
Why are you in this orphanage? Song of Thousand Storms blew the whole congregation away. We've got cotton candy and summoning rituals and summoning demons from the warp. Is that your favorite? Yes, please. Mine too. Fuck. I'm getting serious Pennywise energy.
Your response?
I just look at him and I'm like, you're the person I saw walking earlier with the cane, aren't you?
He puts out his hand, and out of his sleeves pops a cane, and he grabs it and twirls, and then he hands it to you. Yes, that is my name, and that is my cane.
And he hands me the cane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm imagining he hands me the cane, and I swear to God, knowing Malik, he probably fucking planned it, but when I touch his cane, because it's, still got the shard of the black gem in it, I'm imagining that Howland gets a taste of that power, and his eyes just start glowing bright fucking purple, and he's just sitting there like,
yes.
Whoa.
Exactly that.
It's like Raiden getting shot with a fucking taser. It's like, you shitting me, dude?
You just barely touch it, and things kind of open up to you. You see past the shadow walls. You can see things around you you didn't see before. The best I can describe it is potential. Like, you can see aura, not just of people, but of things around you. The magic that everybody's being kind of makes in the world.
I can literally detect life.
And at that moment, I think, I don't know how young Howland realizes magic works or anything, but at that moment, that's when Howland can understand that magic is created from everybody around. The aura that and life and energy that everyone has creates the magic and the flow.
Dang.
What do? Do you let go of the cane, or?
Now that Howland is supercharged, he starts floating into the air, like levitating feet above the ground with Malik's cane. It's like he force pushes the cane back to Malik.
Malik smiles heavily, and he grabs the cane as you pushed it back, and he puts it down on the ground, holding it against his side. He just smiles up at you, and he says, "See? Nothing to be afraid of."
Howland floats back down to the ground and is just like, whoa. Just still kind of just like, fuck, dude.
Are you the only one who can do these sort of tricks around here?
Yes. As far as I know.
Again, he smiles and he says, That's very interesting. I was the same way. Not many people that I knew had the skill or power to do the things I can do now. And as he's saying that, he actually pulls his eye out of his head and starts twirling it around his body. Like, oh yeah, which hand is it in? Oh, it's in the wrong hand. Oh, it's in this one.
Jesus.
And then he puts it in his mouth and it rolls back into his eye.
Oh, fuck. Howland is just like, oh god, but also, yes? It's everything?
And he says, "Do you know anything about magic, like stories of wizards or sorcery?"
No, not really. We're not allowed to learn about magic in Bright Star. Everybody hates it.
His eye shines white for a second and then dims back, and he says, "Would you like to hear a story?"
Howland kind of sits down, Indian style, on the ground and he nods his head.
Malik smiles. "Have you ever heard of the misfortune of the great Leviathan?"
He shakes his head.
"They were a being with immeasurable power, able to create or perform miracles on a universal level. And this being only wanted to help, you see, to stop the ravages of time and space, our petty squabbles over land or food. It would be no more in the wake of the Leviathan. Doesn't that sound nice?"
I nod my head.
"The Leviathan wanted this desperately. They could hear our pains and anguish and wanted to help, but couldn't because the Leviathan is not from here, young man. He's beyond our gates, beyond our world, beyond anything you can imagine. Still, they wished to travel here, and even though they struggled, they were able to punch a tiny hole, allowing a little bit of their power into our world. This was a very, very long time ago, before anyone explored past their own caves or borders. The Leviathan used some of its power to create a less powerful version of themselves. Yay. This being was called Pluvium, and the being formed the first, any air quotes, explorers of the world. They were the Light's Conclave, and they formed bonds with new races and lands to spread peace and love in the name of Pluvium. And for 100 years, 100 years, Howland, it was beautiful. And without war, people traveled from all over to Espero to witness Pluvium and his miracles, but no one other than the Conclave were allowed to see Pluvium for fear of misunderstanding or prejudice. And the misfortune of the Leviathan, Howland, was just that. Fear. One day, several crowds stormed the open city of Espero in hopes to see Pluvium. Although the Conclave held back the crowds, one woman slipped through into Pluvium's chambers. The woman was so happy to see Pluvium, until she realized the sight of Pluvium was too great that she went mad. She died within the hour. The first death in 100 years. 100 years. And as simple as that, it sparked the downfall of the Conclave. And peace with it, of course. They were hunted as war was raged on the city after Pluvium. And the selfish Leviathan sacrificed Pluvium to calm the riots and to allow the Conclave to escape. Pluvium was decapitated. And somewhere their head is still around, as a trophy, I'm sure. But the Conclave didn't survive either. The remnants hid and ran to the furthest part of the world. No longer the Conclave. They hid in the shadows and saw only the moonlight. And from then on, my dear Howland, they became the Knight's Congregation.
Oh, he said it!
He looks at you with his eye glowing like a wisp.
I was gonna say, I just imagine one eye is white and the other is like burning fucking orange and red right now.
Oh, for sure.
Also, by the way, I'm gonna add it, the whole time that he's telling Howland this, He is showing Howland the story on the wall with shadows.
Yes. He says again, the Knights Congregation. Do you know what that is?
Howland shakes his head, not saying anything. He's just like, no. I'm shaking his head no.
I don't blame you. This world has known the congregation less and less as time has gone on. But recently, it has gone up in numbers. After 70 years, I should say. Would you like to know why?
He nods his head.
And then the shadows on the walls appears a giant pinnacle, kind of like a spike, standing, and two figures on left and right side. One that looks very familiar, like Malik in front of you, holding the cane, and on the right, a turtle-looking thing holding another type of staff. And Malik smiles. It could have been a full success. We could have had an entire flock of the congregation back. Magic users like yourself, Howland. Doesn't that sound nice?
Yes. That sounds amazing.
Don't you like magic, Howland?
He looks around again to make sure nobody's listening, and he nods his head.
I do too, Howland. I like magic a whole lot. I think you and your magic, I think you're special. You're a very special boy, Howland, aren't you?
Howland looks at him and he's just like, with the expression of just like, wait, not me? Really? What? Excuse me?
Malik smiles, and of course, he says, yes. Now, I shouldn't say that all magic users are better than everyone else. I shouldn't say it, but I just did.
I shouldn't say it, but it's true.
He says, I think you'd be a great member of the Knights Congregation. Do you think that, Howland?
Howland kind of shrugs and he's like, well, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know if I'm strong enough.
As soon as you say that, the shadows disappear. And the smile from Malik's face vanishes. And he says, no, I don't believe you are. And he also shrugs and gets up really quickly and smiles. Well, it's been a good time talking to you, Howland. And he starts walking out of the door.
Damn.
He looks back at you. Maybe next time. And he holds up the cane, and then he pounds it onto the ground, and there's this huge wave of not aura or color, but it's a loud sound that echoes through the house, and glass falls everywhere. He tips the invisible hat and closes the door and walks down the street.
Is Howland about to get his ass whooped because Malik decided to be a dickhead? Is that what's gonna happen right now, dude? You motherfucker. Mad. Ho's mad.
As soon as that happens, there's a wail of crying from upstairs and people shouting in a flurry of panic. You hear kids saying, the glass is broken! I'm gonna cut myself! And kids just screaming and crying. I don't know what Howland's doing in that moment. Maybe he's just afraid or just sitting there. But you hear Miss Nux. What the hell is going on down there? And the door swings open from her room as she runs downstairs. She checks outside and doesn't see anybody. Malik is gone. And then she looks around the room, and then she spots you in the corner. And she's not holding a switch. She's holding a thick broom.
Oh, that's fucking tough.
And she says, "Are you kidding me, Howland? Oh, are you kidding me? After all the shit I do for you? Do you know how many fucking windows are in this fucking house that you just fucking ruined? What the fuck are you doing out of bed?" And she's coming closer to you, trying to corner you.
Howland is just like fucking... It's like a Courage the Cowardly Dog situation. He's just sitting there like... Was me! No! What the f...
As she's saying that, she hits you once, and it hurts.
Howland backs up as his golem that he made just turns to ash, and he's backing up against the wall.
And she hits you again in the leg, and she says, "You don't understand the world of pain you're in, mister. You are gonna fucking burn for this one." And then she smacks you a third time in the face, this time with a broom, sending you to the floor. And by this time, the kids have started looking over the staircase down at you. "I can't understand why you're such a fuck-up. Why do you just disobey me at any left turn, and any simple instruction I give you, you just can't do? You're just a failure, Howland."
Howland looks at her. His eyes just start radiating just bright purple. And it's not Mage Hand that he uses, but somehow Howland puts out his hand. It's like I pick her up, and her bones just start popping. Every single bone in her body starts breaking, one by one by one. Just pop, 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 pop. He grabs the broom with the other hand, and he reels the broom back, and he throws the broom through her, what is now just absolutely destroyed body, but he impales her with the broom at such a force that the broom handle sticks into the wall all the way across the room, with her stuck to the wall, you know, like she just got harpooned. And looking at that, Howland is covered with blood. Covered from head to toe from all of the bones and all of the veins that popped out, and with glowing purple eyes and a lot of malice, looks up the stairs, and he just looks at the kids, and he takes all of the shattered glass that Malik destroyed, and it's like he transmutes the glass into almost steel, and he puts all of the glass back on the windows. But this time, it's like a steel barricade almost, with spikes coming off of it. So at this point, all of the kids are locked in with him. And Howland looks around, and he starts floating into the air, and he just conjures hundreds of rats, hundreds of these familiar rats, and he just points up the stairs to the kids. Sure enough, the rats all start going up the stairs to all of the kids, and Howland's following quickly behind them. As Howland is floating up the stairs, watching all of these kids get eaten by rats, he finds Toby.
He's in the bathroom, hiding and crying.
He grabs Toby, he picks him up, he takes Toby, and he whips Toby across the room from wall to wall. Boom, hits one wall. Boom, hits the other wall. Boom, into the ground. Back up at the ceiling. Until Toby is just completely bloody, basically on the verge of passing out. At this point, Howland is just radiating with dark, sorcerous energy, and he can hear some kind of voice is calling to him from somewhere. He doesn't know where it is. But as he's done bashing Toby, just throwing him from one wall to another while all of the kids are getting eaten alive by rats, he takes Toby and he throws Toby into the garbage can. And he takes the garbage can and he crushes it into a ball with Toby still in it. He absolutely just puts his hands together and crushes the garbage can with Toby in there. And then he takes it and he fucking whips it through the wall like a cannonball. And at that point, Howland conjures a fireball in his hand, and while all of the kids are quite literally screaming, Howland is just floating there covered in blood laughing as he's kind of playing with this fireball in his hands. And he goes, "Whoops!" and he drops it on the ground. He floats out of the hole in the wall, rebuilds it behind him, and just starts walking as the orphanage behind him is going up in flames. And as it's going up in flames, it starts raining. And it starts raining hard. It's not enough to put out the flames. And at this point, he's walking down the road behind the orphanage, and he can hear people that are, like, screaming. At this point, people are like, "Whoa, dude!" People are starting to notice. And Howland just keeps walking, covered in blood.
As Howland walks away from the wreckage, the camera pans out, farther away from where Howland was walking. We see Howland walking away and the orphanage in flames. And we pan up and up and up and up, and we see Malik just floating there, just staring. And we pan out just a little bit more, and we see that he's floating in the air, hanging by his cane, and some form of aura above it, coming off of the black shard, as he's staring down at you, Howland, and the orphanage. He hovers a bit before he starts floating down, landing far enough from the wreckage that he's not noticed completely. But even if they did, the people of the town, they've got more to worry about. People are panicking and running around worried, screaming, and I think Malik even is surprised at the devastation. But if he's scared, worried, or regretful, he doesn't show it. And just as quickly as he appears, he vanishes. And then we cut to a large weeping willow that we saw earlier where Howland was playing. Lightning strikes, and then we pan down until the camera is on the bottom of the tree, sitting underneath, curled up in a ball.
And I just imagine that Howland is just absolutely covered in blood, crying under this tree. The rain is starting to wash off all of the blood, and Howland is curled up in a ball, curled up under this tree, bawling his eyes out.
You don't notice, Howland, as that's happening, but all of a sudden the rain stops on you, but you can still see it around you. And you look up and you see Malik holding the cane above you. From above it, there's an aura that comes down like an umbrella, shielding you from the rain. And he reaches down a hand.
Howland doesn't even know what else to do at this point, so he just takes his arm.
And then with a cane in one hand, he scoops you up and puts you against his chest, before taking a stroll away from the weeping willow, away from the orphanage, away from Bright Star.
As the camera just pans behind them as they're walking, and you just see the orphanage going down in flames, just collapsing, and Howland is just looking up at the rain past Malik's face while this is all going on.
And he brushes the water off your face, and he says, "Don't worry, Howland. There's never need to be so sad. It can't rain all the time." If you look up, you see just a bunch of figures all in these black robes staring at you And Malik holding you with the cane in his hand. And don't worry about those fools. Because now, there's plenty of people who would love to be your friend. And then the camera cuts.
Yeah. Okay. I'm recording stuff and I can hear you through my door. So be quiet. Shut up. Part of me is trying so hard not to name this motherfucker Dwayne the Rock Gollum Johnson.
Do it.
But who is that? Who is that in this world? What does that mean?
You're making him.
Howland, did you know that despite making up only half of the population, despite making up only 25% of the population in Espero, that somehow the goddamn Genasi are responsible for half the crimes? It doesn't make sense, Howland. Why aren't we talking about this?
I want to add one thing.
Yeah.
Two things, technically. And I'll cut one of them if you don't like it. But the first one that you may not like, he says, Howland. Rain. You here by yourself?
You cut that shit right? That shit out. You're here by yourself, are you? All alone in the rain. Like, howling rain.